when you love what you do, when you love the people you work with and love the clients you serve, you have lots of vibrant energy.
Welcome to the Secrets of Being podcast. I'm Dr. Dawn Earhart-Whitty, your guide on a transformative journey of personal development and discussions of universal truths. Join me and a panel of life coaches and spiritual leaders from around the world discussing how to handle some of life's greatest challenges. We will be sharing stories of love, faith, and inspiration with you, our faithful listeners, to live your happiest and most fulfilling life, full of purpose and passion for yourself, your families, and the world. We are here to be the change we wish to see. Let the conversation begin. Hello, and welcome to the Secrets of Being. Today, I am so honored and happy to have Doug D. Gordon with us. Doug is an award-winning international keynote speaker. He's a best-selling author. He's an executive life coach. He's a corporate trainer. He's an author. He's amazing. He does so many things. He is the podcast host of Inspirational People and Inspirational Stories, which I love the name of your podcast. And his book, Charge Yourself Up for Success. Welcome, Doug. It's an honor to have you here.
Dawn, lovely to see you. We obviously spent a lot of time in Clubhouse a few years ago when it was raving with lots of people on there, but seems to have kind of died a death a bit now, I think.
Yeah, I don't even notice Clubhouse still even exists.
Yeah, I know. So there you go. But no, it's a
Yeah.
pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me on.
Well, thank you again for being here. And you have like a very amazing, impressive history and story about how you started and where you are today. But I always love to start our podcast off with a quote. So I chose it from your book, and you wrote, "When you are aligned with a sense of love for what you are doing, you have lots of vibrant energy. And if you optimize your energy, you can optimize your life and work." And I feel like that is such an important a lesson or secret of being or whatever you want to call it to explain to people. So I would love to start off the conversation with you telling us a little bit about your backstory and how you got from where you started to where you are.
Yeah, well, the first thing I will say, Dawn, on what you just said there in terms of the love, I'm sure if someone's listening now to this, I'm sure after a 2 week holiday, you come back into you have to go back into work and you have to drag yourself out of bed, drag yourself into the office, and you sit there going, what the bleep am I doing here? And yet, when you're going on holiday, you tend to spring out of bed, spring into the taxi, spring into the airplane, spring into the swimming pool, loads of energy because you're aligned to something you love doing. And as I said in the book, when you love what you do, when you love the people you work with and love the clients you serve, you have lots of vibrant energy. And everything in life is energy. Thoughts are energy, speech is energy, thoughts lead to speech, speech leads to actions, actions leads to habits, and habits leads to destiny. So if you start with that energy of love and that mindset of love, it's amazing what happens in terms of the outcomes and results as well. So that's why it was. And in terms of where I came from, where I am now, I actually, many years ago, got into finance mainly because my father was in finance. I didn't know what to do after university. Found out that it paid reasonably well, so I thought, at least I can do something that gets a decent salary. So went into fund management for a few years. Went from customer service to sales support to sales management, sales director to head of sales and marketing of one of the biggest fund managers in Europe, and did that over a 21-year period and did reasonably well. I actually grew a business from one particular business from 50 million per annum sales to 1.75 billion. And just to put that in context for people who might think they're big numbers, that means that the fees or the revenue that we were making was 0.75% of those numbers, if that makes sense. So I did that for a while, but then in 2008, as I'm sure a lot of you remember, the markets in terms of the stock markets and companies and everything like that went through the floor. And when that happened, we had to lay off a lot of people. I got very stressed. I actually just had my second child, and my ex-wife had our second child at the time. So that mixed up with having a second baby and also all the stress in terms of the stock market. I ended up getting very stressed, and that stress led to ailments, to doctors, to specialists, to 2 operations that went wrong, and then 4 years of chronic pain like I was being punched in the stomach. And then in 2013, when I thought anything couldn't get any worse in terms of my stomach, I ended up getting the norovirus, which is like a stomach bomb. And after 10 days of serious dehydration, where my electrolytes went down to pretty much zero, I was having heart issues, and an ambulance was called, rushed to hospital, arrived into A&E. They always say, you're the average of the five people you hang around with most. And when you've got a heart issue, you don't want to be hanging around with a bunch of people at A&E. It makes it even worse in terms of anxiety and everything like that. And I ended up then being rushed down to the X-ray because they thought there was a blockage in the gut. And on that route down to X-ray, I actually passed over into the light, and I was surrounded by this amazing feeling of love, energy, and connection. Nothing like I'd ever felt before. There was no man with a beard, but there was this living, conscious energy that was binding, connecting me, and kind of giving me a little hint that I needed to change my life in some way or form. So gradually, the ego is in the way, but gradually I managed to start moving into doing. Initially, I wanted to heal myself because I was fed up with all these ailments. So I started getting into stuff like Reiki and Sikkim and bioenergy healing and quantum healing, and became a master teacher healer of five modalities of healing. And that then changed me in terms of being able to heal myself, become more relaxed, become better at stress management. And then gradually, then I realized I was able to heal other people, and I wanted to use the life coaching kind of mind body connection kind of stuff, mix it all in, and then help people as much as possible. But I also found that the people that were the most stressed were the people in the corporate world. So I got dragged back into the corporate world, and I realized the importance of both stress management and performance. I always do a lot of talks in terms of high performance success without the stress, but also in terms of one of the biggest things that causes stress in people is miscommunication. And that can be miscommunication between leaders and their teams, or their teams and their clients, or just the colleagues in terms of things. So, having always been a sales guy in that respect, I utilized my learnings and studied a lot more to try and really understand how I could help people communicate better, present better, and perform better in an all-round aspect to create performance optimization and energy optimization and communication optimization within themselves and within the organizations they worked in as well.
Well, that's quite a story. I mean, I was fascinated by the fact that you started off in finance. My ex-husband was in high finance, mergers, acquisitions, real estate. So I kind of had from, peripherally that a knowledge of that world. And there's a lot of stress in that world. And so for you to take that experience and then come to this side. So was it that near death experience that kind of was the pivotal thing that made you start, changing what you were doing in the world?
A little bit, yeah. I think what happened was I realized, I'd gone through some, messes, shall we say, in terms of ailments and stuff like that. I had a marriage breakdown myself, and I wanted to turn my mess into a message and give it meaning to help other people in some way or form. Because what we go through, we grow through to glow through, as I always say, and we can gleam our inner light out to people as much as possible. So I think it's really important to make sure that you look at everything that you go through and think, why am I going through this? And is there anything in this that maybe through the knowledge and learnings that I've had that I can utilize to help others so they can go through it in an easier fashion? Otherwise, why did you go through it in the first place? Obviously, you need to learn yourself and then try and teach other people. Because what I realized is we're all a product of our parents, preachers, teachers, and past relationships and experiences. And that means we all have a set programming in terms of how we think, speak, and act. And if we, which is basically our personality, and if we can change our personality, we can change our personal reality in terms of the outcomes. So I felt it was really important to make sure I looked at myself in terms of self-awareness, conscious communication, and understanding of others in terms of empathy and compassion, to be able to see, was there anything I could tweak in terms of becoming more emotionally intelligent, more self-aware, more people-aware, to create better relationships, better communication, and make a better life and relationships with me and the other people around me as well. And I think that really helped. I think back in the day when I was a little bit stressed in the, corporate world, I think at times I don't do it now. I'm back in the corporate world in terms of training and helping them. And I see it quite often that there is a kind of sometimes a blame culture that when they point the finger, they forget there's three pointing back at them. So I took full responsibility for myself. And that helped me then be able to help other people to see how to do that as well. Because I think it's very important to heal yourself first, learn how to be more emotionally intelligent or more, better communicator first before you try and start teaching it to anybody else as well. So that's what I did. And then gradually over the years, I've honed it in terms of now I've been doing this for kind of 7 or 8 years now, worked with everyone from Dell to Samsung to JP Morgan to lots of different companies, everything from C-level to sales team. And that has really helped me in terms of being able to help others and then learn from others. And with you mentioned about the podcast as well. it was a national radio show before, and then I got sponsored on the podcast. But I've managed to interview over 350 people and learn how they became successful, how they went through their problems or their issues and stuff like that. And then I've utilized both my own learnings and also their learnings and put it all together in a package to try and help people as much as possible.
I love that. And in your book, and I've listened to your podcast, read your book. I haven't finished it, disclaimer, but you told a story about an IT person at work when you were working for a bank, I believe, and you were saying how, he was stressed because, all these IT problems, and then you had him reframe the way he thought of what he was doing to make it be about being of service. And I love that you talk about being of service because I feel like no matter what industry medium that we are in, we're all here to be of service using our gifts, skills, and talents. Can you talk to us a little bit about why that is so important to you? Because it's very important to me as well.
Well, I have to say, like sometimes, people might think that people make these stories up just for like motivational talks or anything like that. If you go onto my TED talk, I actually mention what you just said about, the IT guy within the company. If you go onto my TED talk and look at the comments down, there's a guy called Kevin who's commented going, I wonder who that was, because it was him. So this is a real story, and what I felt was when I was in the investment world at the time, it was good money, and obviously what I was doing, I was working in fund management where I was effectively B2B sales to big banks like JP Morgan, UBS, whatever, and I was going in and pitching my products, saying, look, the portfolio of stocks and shares that we have is better than the one that you already have at the moment. Why don't you move it across? So it was basically, in my mind at the time, it was kind of just transactional. And what happened with Kevin, when I was working in this particular company, I was doing some kind of mindset coaching, almost like motivational speaking summits after work for the company, just as a kind of like a sideline. But I was actually charging them a little bit, and then I was giving all of it to the homeless and to children's charities. And so we got actually at one stage, I was getting like 60 people turning up every week, and it was on a Monday evening as well, which was quite cool. And he was one of the guys, and I talked about, finding passion and purpose within your business and finding that why. And he'd said to me, he said, Doug, I don't see any why in what I do. All I do every single day is, people ring up and they complain about the IT, they complain about the computers not working. I don't feel I have a purpose. And I said to him, I said, look, well, why don't we reframe what we do? Because actually, as an investment management company, we're helping that granny or grandpa retire younger, give more to their children, buy a better retirement home, give more to their charity, whatever it is, by having better performance. And by you making sure that the IT is working and the computers are working and all that kind of stuff, it enables us to do better research on the stocks, better dealing and better timed deals, and give better kind of research and reporting to the clients. So actually, you're enabling that end granny or grandpa have a better life. And when you reframe what you do, whatever it is, if even if you're the cleaner of a company or something like that, and you're doing the cleaning and and actually it makes it, less viruses around and cleaner environment for people to work for, so they're healthier and more energized, you're actually your end result of the work you do, even though if it doesn't directly, it interlinks to bettering lives. So when you can have a look at what you do and how it interlinks, whether you're the secretary, the CEO, or whatever, to bettering somebody's actual life, then it can give you a sense of purpose, a sense of why. And that's what I was aiming at that particular point in the book.
Yeah, well, I loved that story because, and I didn't think you made that up at all, but I love that because I think no matter what it is that we're doing, we can be of service, and if we can see what we're doing as being of service, then it helps us find that purpose and that meaning behind all the things that we're doing. So I wanted it because you came from corporate and banking, and I know again how stressful that world is. What kind of hints, ticks, tricks, ideas can you share with our listeners to when they are in those high stressful situations? How can you ground yourself? How can you pull yourself out of that, high? I mean, my ex-husband, I remember at one point, he literally was breaking out in rashes. He was so
Mm.
stressed. And I know he was physically having symptoms because of the internal stress he was feeling. And I saw it happen with my daughter when she was in a relationship. She was literally breaking out in rashes. And I'm like, honey, that's from stress. So how do we keep ourselves from getting to the point where it's physically, hurting our bodies? What kind of things can you do to help people bring that stress level down and get into a place of more peace?
Okay, well, here's the thing, right? if you think about it, anybody listening to this outside there, if you're playing American football, baseball, basketball, golf, but let's take the kind of combat sports that we call it, say. So let's say you're playing American football, right? And if you are good at it and you love it and you enjoy playing in a camaraderie, team orientated place, you can get whacked, you can get smacked, you can lose games, you can have a horrible time, you can be pushed by the coach to do those extra runs. But deep down, you still love it. And deep down, the stress levels aren't seemed, even though you will be stressed, they aren't seemed to be there as much. So what I'm saying is that a lot of people who go into banking or finance or whatever, they go in initially because they just go in because they think, okay, what job am I going to get? What makes money? How can I make lots of money and feed my family and look after the bills or whatever? So they go into finance and they're in finance with other people with that same mindset. But what happens is it's not necessarily, oh, they don't see it in a way of this is amazing, this is a sense of purpose, this is a why, I love this. And they don't see it that way, but they can change it that way. Because I truly believe that your vibe attracts your tribe, right? So if you go into a business, say, as a financier, as a fund manager, whatever, and instead reframe that mindset, like I was talking about earlier on, but also see that all those people that you're working with, right? If you see them as almost like family and challenges almost like a PlayStation game where each individual one, if they're getting, a bit antsy with you and they're being a bit aggressive or anything, it's probably because inside they're not happy. So if you can take it as a challenge, not just with the job, but also see like these people are in my field of energy, my life for a reason. So I'm going to go in and do the job to the best of my ability, but I'm also kind of challenge myself that every single person I meet, maybe I can try and make them smile a bit more. Maybe I can try and bring a bit of love to their life. Maybe I can make them feel better about it. So when you have that almost like that mission inside of here, where you're thinking and living that on a daily basis, when you go in and someone starts throwing stones at you effectively in terms of abuse or whatever it might be, instead of taking it personally, because when you personalize, you're looking with personal eyes. But if you look in terms of what they're going through, they're like maybe they're just unhappy in their job. Maybe their family isn't going so well. Maybe they're so working so hard, they're away from their family and they're not seeing them enough and they feel frustrated. But they're stuck in this job because they're making so much money. So instead of looking at them as kind of like, an enemy, look at them as like a friend, a family member, someone that you need to support in some way or form. And when you're in that situation and you're stressed, just calm it down. Because when you're calm and in the flow and in the moment, and when you're centered in your heart, and when you're looking for good things rather than thinking you're going to see bad things, it's amazing. Like if I say to you, go out after this and don't look for, I don't know, blue BMWs, you're going to be looking for blue BMWs. So if you start thinking about, oh, I don't like this job, oh, there's negative people all the time, you're going to find more negative people. But if you take it as a challenge to be able to say, okay, how many people can I make a better day out of today? Even if I don't get anything else, that I'm meant to get done today, as long as I'm still working hard towards it, obviously. But even if I can make other people that I work with in my team, either who are working for me or alongside me or my bosses or whatever, if I can show empathy, compassion, understanding, motivation, inspiration to try and help them feel better in their job in some way or form and use that as a challenge each time, it can make a big difference to how you feel in your job because you frame everything. And every day can become a challenge, not just about the job, but about try and make someone smile in some way or form.
I love that. I mean, be the person you wish you had in every interaction, no matter what that is. If it's at the grocery store, if it's in traffic, the post office, it doesn't matter where you are. Show up as a person you would like to encounter, right? And
Yeah,
and nobody wants to encounter somebody who's mad or angry or, grumpy. They want to encounter somebody who's light and lovely and asks how they're doing and genuinely wants to know, how are you doing today?
yeah, and one thing I will say, Dawn, in terms of practically speaking as well, outside of that, because that's a mindset orientated thing, in a kind of like a physical kind of practice sense, obviously the best thing you can do as well in the morning when you wake up is maybe do a little bit of meditation in terms of visualizing, use meditation one to calm the central nervous system down using breath work, but also, maybe, 4 seconds in and 6 seconds out, or do the box breathing technique where you do 4 seconds in, hold 4 seconds, 4 seconds out, hold out 4 seconds, do that 4 times. So you get your central nervous system practiced and ready in case there's any problems that you can keep calm in them and emotionally regulating them. But also you can do stuff like grounding. So like we all can feel other people's energy. Like you can walk into a room and you can feel that two people had an argument, or you can walk into a bar and there's great energy, you come out feeling great yourself. So we can interact with other people's energy and we can feel it. So if people are feeling a bit down, you need to keep your energy within your own self. And that can be done through grounding, but also through visualization. And I like to visualize like a violet light around me because violet's the highest frequency of light. And it's not a protective thing. I do it as in because it's high frequency. My aim is if there's any lower frequency that room that I go into, my aim is that I'm like bulletproof. I just kind of like bring the frequency up. And with that intention in mind, you tend to act that way as well. So grounding, kind of protecting your energy through that kind of visualization, meditation, also write down the tasks for the day and also write down them in a state of celebration in I am grateful statements as if they've already happened and visualize them as if in a state of celebration you're having a great day. Because if you put yourself in the energy of something, you'll bring more of it to you. So if you put yourself in the energy of, I'll give you a great example of this, right? So I was speaking on stage alongside a load of amazing Indian people because it was the Institute of Directors Global Convention for India. And I was speaking about, this is in my book actually, I think as well. I was speaking about climate change and sustainability. That was the theme of the conference, surrounded by people like the CEO of Cobra Beer, the Foreign Secretary of State of India, and other cool people, all Indians. And at the time, because I'm divorced, it was a couple of weeks since I'd seen my daughter. And I thought to myself, I wish my daughter would reach out. I left the conference, got on the plane to go back to Dublin from London. I sat in the window seat, and within about 2 minutes, this guy came and sat down next to me with his daughter on his lap, who was one, and started reaching out to me. So the reaching out daughter thing. Then I got chatting to him and found out that he was a consultant in sustainability and climate change. And then I found out that his wife was sitting next to him in the aisle seat, and she was Indian. So I find this happens all the time. So if you put yourself in the energy of expectation that, no, I'm going to have a great day today. I'm going to do some great deals today. I'm going to have, I'm going to make someone smile today. I'm going to be very emotionally intelligent today. And I'm going to have a fantastic time today as well. If you set that intention every single day and you remember that these obstacles of these difficult people are just there to test you to be the best version of yourself, it reframes everything as well. Obviously, the other things like eat well, sleep well, exercise well, all of these things. Exercise in the morning, it gives the blood flow going, gets your heart stronger. So when you do have that boom, 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 boom with a difficult person or a difficult client, your heart is stronger, it's calmer because you've already exercised. You're able to deal with that emotion more easily as well. So all of these kind of things can really help you in terms of being able to achieve a more resilient, stress-free environment in the workplace.
I love that. I love that. I mean, we're so in alignment. When I listen to your podcast, I'm like, oh my God, we're speaking the same language. You have a cuter accent than me, but
I don't
um,
know.
you talk also about gratitude. And that is a big one for me because, I do a lot of work with people in Africa who really don't have much in terms of materialism. And sometimes food is a struggle. Sometimes clean water is the challenge, but they are happy. They are happy, and the little they have, they're very grateful and generous with the little that they have. And I've found that so many times that the people with the least are the ones that are the most generous with their time and the things they have. And so I think gratitude plays a huge factor in that. And I would like for you to talk a little bit about how you factor gratitude into your daily life.
Yeah, so gratitude goes back to what I was saying about putting yourself in the energy of something and you bring more of it to you. Quite often when I'm on stage, I get people to put their hand up. I said, how many people here have children? Half the audience might put their hand up. I said, how many people have ever given a child a present and they haven't been grateful? Do you feel like giving them anything else? And a lot of them go, no. And I always say, look, if your subconscious mind, if you are not grateful for everything you have, the good and the bad, because you created it, then why would your subconscious mind open you up to receive anything else?
Mm.
So if you can get yourself into a state of gratitude where I'm grateful for you, Dawn, today for bringing me on here. I'm grateful for listening to your lovely voice. I'm grateful for having my book advertised on your podcast. I'm grateful for the opportunity I had today with I spoke to loads of people at potential speaking gigs today. You know, I'm really, really grateful for my partner, my house, my car, my dog. I'm grateful for my parents. I'm grateful for my brothers, my friends. You know, when you're truly grateful for the smaller things in life, then it opens you up to receive more. And I think what people forget because of the dopamine hits of social media and everything like that these days is that we are spiritual beings having a physical existence. And that means that we're gifted to be able to utilize our five senses. The gift of being able to see the sun, the sea, the stars, the sky. The gift of being able to hear the whistle of the wind, the waves lapping up on the beach in Los Angeles where you are, or for me, especially hearing one of my daughter or my son saying, Dad, I love you. The gift of being able to taste a glass of wine or a chocolate, the gift of being able to smell a rose, or the gift of being able to have a hug or a kiss in terms of touch. These are the true gifts of life. And if we can be grateful for the small things in life, nature, the world, the earth, the people around us, and truly show that, it's amazing what more comes to you as well.
Absolutely. And I mean, when things are kind of like status quo, it's easier to find the gratitude. But when you're facing a challenge or something happens, I mean, I recently just had a big plumbing problem at my house, and you know, it cost a lot of money to fix it. And I just remember thinking, I have a house, I have the money to pay for this, I have water running in my house. How blessed am I? So instead of being angry or upset, I just kept saying, I'm grateful, I'm grateful, I'm grateful. Would I have chosen that to happen? Absolutely not. But was I grateful that I was able to get through that situation? And I have all, the house that I have, those things. And so, like, again, when things hit the fan, I always try to go back to okay, what do you have to be grateful for? And I can always find something. So thank you for
Yeah,
that reminder.
and totally. I think one, if you can ground yourself in terms of gratitude, and two, it's to become the observer of your thoughts rather than getting wrapped up in the emotion and commotion. So when you go to your programming, which is that kind of central line of the way you think, speak, and act, and you start going, "Arr," it's to take yourself out of that and thinking, okay, why am I getting upset with this? In a week's time, or a month's time, or 6 months' time, is this really going to matter? No. What can I rationally do now to get through this in the best possible way? Well, number one, let's start breathing, that kind of central breathing technique to calm the nervous system down. That way I can think more rationally for a start. Maybe say a prayer if you need to. Just again, take yourself. Maybe close your eyes, put your hands in your heart, and do a little meditation and ground yourself if you need to. Take your shoes off, do kind of like an energy grounding technique, whatever it is. You can do all these in the moment. The other thing is if you're ever stressed with people there, one of the things you can do is you can actually press into your hands, like we've got those squashy balls things. They've proven that if you press into the palm of your hand with your fingers, both of them even, it sends blood down there and it calms the central nervous system down as well. So all of these different tactics can help you self-regulate and calm yourself down so you think more rationally, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I did not know about this one. I will use that the next time it comes up because I've not heard of that one before. But, grounding, taking your shoes off, walking in the grass, be barefoot, get all those positive ions in your body. It's really good for us. And we don't do it. Most of us. I mean, I live in a place where I can do it, but I know if you've got 3 feet of snow, you're not taking your shoes off, walking in the grass. But those are all good things to help us in the moment as life is happening. And I loved what you said, in a week, in a day, in a week, in a month, in a year. Are those things gonna be a problem anymore? Like look to, this is temporary, this is gonna end, there will be something else tomorrow. I love that mindset. Um, I could talk to you forever because, like, again, we speak the same language, and I heard you say so many things. I'm like, I've said that before. That's what I think too. So it's absolutely lovely speaking to you. But I want you to tell everybody where they can find you, and of course, we'll put everything in the show notes. They can, find you directly there. But tell them where they can find you, and also leave our listeners with one core key piece of information that you want everybody to take away from this podcast today.
Yeah, sure. So, firstly, you can find me at dougdgordon.com. Doug is D-O-U-G, Gordon, Gordon. So, Doug and D in the middle, which is my middle name. So, it's dougdgordon.com. And there's lots on my website in terms of different podcasts and speeches that I've done that might help people in some way or form. Now, in terms of something that I can recommend in terms of a takeaway, is a lot of people obviously worry about things like money. And I would like to say that money is an exchange for energy, time, knowledge, and experience. And time, knowledge, and experience all take energy. So if you optimize your energy, like we've been talking about, you're going to potentially optimize your money flow in your life as well. But on top of that, remember that your central nervous system is sending those emotions around, those energies in motion. So if your central nervous system is stressed, skewed, and you're struggling a bit in that respect, maybe through trauma in the past, maybe through some reactions that you're not proud of, maybe through guilt, something like that, whatever it might be. If that central nervous system is in that way, it's very important to try and reset that in an important way as well. So, what I do with a lot of C-level execs and generally normal people as well is I always work with them to try and optimize their energy, optimize their mindset, and optimize their central nervous system as well so they can think more rationally because we all have a goal that we have in front of us. And what happens is we have blockers in the way, such as fear, procrastination, perfectionism, worry, whatever they are, they're in the way. So I have a purpose-driven awareness technique which helps in terms of the central nervous system and optimizing energy to be able to clear all that path out of the way and move towards your goals so you're focusing on what you want rather than what you don't want. And that's something that's it's slightly in my book, but it's much more so in my coaching as well. So that's one of the things I would really say it's so important with people as well. Because if you have a look at my LinkedIn, for example, which is one of my favorites in terms of social media because it's the most authentic. If you look at my LinkedIn, you can see there's 100+ recommendations from people, either from my speaking on stage in companies like Dell, Samsung, and so on, or people who've gone through some pretty tough times and I've managed to change their mindset. People who are like suicidal, I've managed to turn them around and now they've turned their mess into a message and they're inspiring other women or people or children or whatever, so they don't go through the same things. So these things work because I've gone through my own myself, and I've learned from them, grown from them, and utilized what I've learned to try and help other people. But also, I've done a massive amount of study. I've probably read every single psychological book out there, studied with every single guru out there, both on the mindset side, the emotional side, the spiritual healing side, everything to try and performance optimization, all different aspects of your life so that you can perform to a higher level.
I love that. I love that. That's probably why we speak the same language because we've gone down all of those same avenues because I'm always fascinated by the human condition and how to make how can people be more happy? I want everybody to be happy. I don't like pain. I don't like suffering. I want to bring out the best in people because we all have something amazing to bring.
Well, one thing I will say about that, Dawn, because people often seek happiness, and one of the things I will say is that the because I deal with quite a lot of suicidal people, it's the universe is made up of darkness and light, right? So there's always going to be good times and there's always going to be difficult times. So in the dark, difficult times, try and learn from the learnings, the difficult people, whatever, and take those learnings so that you shine brighter then in the light. But also remember that if you are having a tough time out there, maybe you're going through one of those, balance of the more difficult times. So maybe you're leveraged up in the future for some more light and fun times. And when we seek peace and balance rather than happiness and have that understanding, it makes a massive difference. And also, I will say, having had this, near death experience effectively, I truly believe that we come down here to learn, to grow, to evolve, to become better versions of ourselves. I also believe in reincarnation because, as Einstein says, energy never dissipates, it just moves from one form to another. So, based on that premise, if you're having a tough time in life, maybe pat yourself on the back because maybe you're playing this game of life to try and see if you can still get through all this tough time and come out the other side as the angel like self that you probably are. And also, I will say, I will caption this because sometimes there's suicidal people out there, is that I truly believe that you chose this life and you chose the people in it for karmic reasons and reasons to learn and grow. And if you take that away from yourself, it could be like Groundhog Day and you have to come back and do it all over again. So you might as well get it out of the way this time and really work on it and look at yourself as almost like if it's really tough, hey, you've obviously done this a few times in this lifetime, you're almost like an angel. You need to test yourself, the ultimate, like the last level of that PlayStation game to see if you can beat the game and get through this game of life.
Yeah, I'd also look at things as a gift, whether the gift is a lesson or the gift is, you growing into the person that you're supposed to become had you not had that situation happen or that person or whatever that was, right? I look at everything like that as a gift and I'm grateful because I know I am the woman I am today because of everything that I've gone through, good and bad, right? Dark and light. So that's a great way to look at it. And, you are a source of wisdom. I am so honored and grateful that I know you, and I cannot wait for this come out. So anyway, thank you so much for joining us, and thank you for joining the Secrets of Being. Thank you for tuning in to the Secrets of Being podcast. We appreciate your time and support. If you enjoyed this episode, please like, share, and subscribe to stay updated with more inspiring content. For further inspiration, visit thesecretsofbeing.com and join our community. Until next time, stay inspired and keep unlocking the secrets of being.